Welcome to episode number 170, 3 ways to get more repeat sales.
Crazy.
Yeah, or resales, as we call them in
We do one of these
industry.
a week, so this, you telling me we've done this for 3 years now?
Pretty close. Yeah.
Wow.
Not every week necessarily, but pretty close to every week. Yeah, except we sometimes skip Christmas and things like that. All right, so 3 ways to get more repeat sales. And repeat sales are actually the coolest thing in the aviation industry, I think, because that's where most aviation companies make most of their money.
Right.
And we'll talk about why that is and how that works. But my name's Paula Williams, and
I'm John Williams.
And we are ABCI, and ABCI's mission is
To help all you guys out there do this and get more sales.
absolutely make more sales
Yep.
in the aviation industry, including repeat sales. In fact, especially repeat sales. In some cases, we say the whole reason for making a first sale to a new customer is so that you have a customer. Not to make a sale, but to make a customer, right?
Right.
Okay. So this
What you
episode...
sell is a relationship.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I think here more than anywhere else, any other industry I've ever seen. So this episode is brought to you by our Sales and Marketing Lab,
Good.
which actually is our very best, most cost-effective opportunity for people to get some low cost for what you get. Consulting and tools and techniques and software and other things that are usually only available to really large companies that have a whole marketing and sales department.
You do the lion's share of the work, but we can guide you through it.
Right, and in a lot of cases, doing the same amount of work that you're doing now, if you do it smarter and if you have a little bit of professional advice about what you should be doing and how to direct the resources that you do have, that comes out a whole lot better. So we hope that you join us for that. We'd love to have you in our group, which we're really impressed by right now. They're really good people in the industry and really good people in our group. Okay, so if you have been listening to our podcast for any amount of time, you have seen this diagram, and if you are just listening to this, you're going to have to imagine it. It's got 3 big squares, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, right?
With respect to marketing approaches.
Exactly. So phase 1 is advertising and prospecting. That is what you have to do first to get people to know that you exist so that they can buy your products and things like that. Phase 2 is building credibility and closing sales.
Right.
Okay. And then phase 3 is post-sale activities. So to kind of zoom in on this a little bit more, it's been a while since we've talked about it, so a little quick refresher won't hurt, right? So phase 1, advertising and prospecting. These are things like search engine optimization so that people find you on the web, right?
Right.
Social media and targeting people who are good fits for your product or service. Direct mail. A lot of us use JetNet, AirPack, any number of other things to target people who are in the right demographics and send them postcards or direct mail pieces designed to make that first contact, if we want to use a Star Trek term, right? Trade shows. People sometimes find out about you for the first time at a trade show. Cold calls. If you are using LinkedIn, hopefully those are not completely cold. They're semi room temperature or better.
I don't think anybody does cold calls effectively anymore.
Exactly. And then referrals from current customers. Maybe a customer refers someone who has never heard of you before, so that would be considered a phase 1 activity with that new customer. So in a lot of cases, we do something like a first step, like a downloadable tip sheet or ebook. This is what we call inbound marketing. Make an offer that is low cost and low risk on both sides. You find out a little bit more about each other. You figure out if you want to take a next step of maybe an information package or a free consultation or note card or any number of things like that. So that's phase 1, getting that first step and that first date, right, over with.
Very high level, phase
Exactly.
1.
Yeah. Phase 2, of course, is once they already know about you, how do you build credibility overcome their objections, get them to know more about your products and services. It's not all done in one sitting. Nobody makes a decision about an aviation product or service at one time, right?
Nope.
In most cases, it takes days, weeks, months.
Sometimes years.
Sometimes years. To build credibility and work through all of the details that you have to work through to make a good transaction. So phase 1 and phase 2, and then we get into phase 3, which is the whole enchilada as far as really profitable aviation companies focus on phase 3, I think, more than anybody else does. And the reason is because this is the most cost-effective place to put your marketing investments, assuming that you have a decent customer list to begin with. Repeat sales cost a lot less to make and are a whole lot more lucrative for both sides. They take a lot less effort. You've already got inertia on your side and everything else, but you can't just leave it to chance, and you can't just leave it to take it for granted that people are going to buy from you because they always have.
Right.
Especially anymore. So most aviation companies make 50% or more of their revenues in phase 3, which is just a mind-blowing thing if you think about it, right?
Well, on the other hand, if you've already bought from Gulfstream, and chances are, as long as you're making a profit in a few years, you're going to buy from Gulfstream again.
Right. You already got the comfort level. Yeah. You've got the comfort level. They've built up the credibility with you. You've got the skills in your organization. All of that stuff is working for you rather than against you.
Whatever vendor you're using for tires, brakes, you got to go back.
Software, service, insurance, anything that you buy, you are more likely to buy from the same place.
As long as the same place keeps you in front of their mind.
Yeah, as long as you don't forget about them or a competitor doesn't come along with a better deal, right?
That's why this is where you work against your competitors right here.
Absolutely. Okay, so how do you make it more likely that you're going to get those repeat sales and you're not going to lose them to a competitor who comes along with a great idea, a great deal, great, whatever, new product, something like that?
Communicate.
Absolutely. So 3 things. We're going to talk about what's your customer life cycle, what's your favorite marketing tool, which you will know because you've got your customers using it, right? And then the third one is how can you automate or delegate the process, because if you don't make it easy, it ain't going to happen. We're all so busy, and as marketing consultants, I can tell you, most people are so intent on that phase 1. They want to find new customers all the time. They're not focused on how do I keep my old ones, or how do I get more repeat sales from my old ones. So we're going to get into each of these points. First of all, what is your customer life cycle? For every product or service in the aviation industry, there is a customer life cycle. So you may think, well, I'm a broker. People are only going to buy an airplane from me once. Not necessarily true. I think there's a cycle of 3 or 4 years, depending on the make or model of the airplane.
As long as they need a broker, even though they may be able to talk to their pilots and talk to their mechanics and find out which airplane they should get, they still need a guy that knows how to make it happen.
Yes, that's true.
You just can't. That's something you just can't. You can't do without.
Exactly. If you talk about like aviation specialized construction companies, people who build hangars and airport properties and fuel farms and things like that, that's probably an even longer sales cycle because people don't do that every day, right?
No, they don't.
But it is likely if they do a construction project with you, especially if it's a larger organization with multiple locations, they're going to want to do business with you again. They're going to have something that needs to be done. So those are on the really longer side. A lot of us have products that are on the shorter side. We have service levels where people renew their service with us each month because we're doing service for them every day, every week, every month. For people who sell insurance, people who provide software, other kinds of things like that, you may have a subscription model where you're earning their business on a very short time frame, right? So that's the short side, and then we talked about the long side.
And everything in between.
But everybody has a life cycle, and you need to know what that is. When are they the most likely to need to buy your services again? And you can find that out just from the rhythm of, and if you're keeping good records in your CRM, how
Exactly.
often do people buy from you, right?
Right.
Okay. The longer you've been in business, the more you'll know about that. So what's your customer life cycle? And then what's your favorite marketing tool? What has worked for you to get these customers in the first place? You already know that. You know they answered an email, or they answered a Google ad, or they answered a postcard. Whatever it was that brought them in the door the first time, it is likely that they will respond to that again, right? So you take your most successful marketing tools, and for some people that is in person and on the phone. So a lot of people will visit their customers once every year or once every couple of years, and we're actually trying to do that as we combine that with our road trips to NBAA. We did that last year, and it was really successful. I think we're going to try and do that again this year, except that it's in
Different half of the country.
Yeah, in Las Vegas this year, so we get to see customers on the other side of the country. In person is the most effective way to do this. So if you can make regular visits to your customers, that is still worth doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole reason for the aviation industry, is because people love to be in person somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Or
All right.
their business requires it.
Exactly. If they found you on your website, then you need to give them reasons to keep coming back to your website. So publish new articles, publish new stuff, make sure that they can find you again when they're looking for you, because a lot of times they'll forget your name, heaven forbid, right?
Or ping them once a month, once a quarter, just so they know.
Exactly. So those two are, make sure that they can find you. You may want to send them periodic emails. We do our Marketing Mondays once a week, in fact.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You can cut this part out. But I was thinking, yeah, we do it weekly, but does that go out in an email?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it goes out in many different formats. So let's start that over. So
Yeah, just break here.
yeah, we send an email once a week that includes our RSS feed, right, to our podcast. So a lot of people open that email, and that's how they find us. Other people have subscribed to us on iTunes. People have subscribed to us on YouTube. People, follow us on Facebook, and that's how they get our latest episode. So whatever their favorite way is, our podcast is intended to be delivered in their favorite way.
Right.
So we do one thing, a podcast, and have multiple ways for that to reach people.
Right.
Okay. Social media, once again, Facebook, those kinds of things. This is really, really a lot more common than it was even 5 years ago. And if your customers say that they don't use social media, they're full of hooey. The demographics just don't bear that out. So
No, they don't. And you can actually do very little research to figure out that, in fact, they do use it.
Mm-hmm. In fact, if you would like for us to do something kind of cool for you, we can do what we call a competitive analysis, and we look for how many likes do your competitors have on Facebook, how many hits are they getting on their website, and other kinds of things like that. So it's really kind of cool insider information that you may not have the ability to get for yourself, but we have some software that helps us put that together for you. So if you think your customers aren't on social media, they may be, but they're following somebody other than you.
You just have to determine which of the social media they are on.
Right, and you might be surprised what that is. So don't make assumptions without the data, right?
No, exactly.
Okay. And mail. So if the way that they found you the first time was a postcard, keep sending those postcards. They are well worth the postage if they keep bringing customers in, right?
I was talking to an airplane sales guy a bunch of years ago, and he said, "I'll send you a postcard." I said, "Okay." Well, it took 6 months of a postcard a month before I bought an airplane. It wasn't because I didn't want to buy. Life got in the way.
And if he had sent 4 postcards, he
wouldn't have made the sale.
Come to the conclusion that postcards don't work and they're a total waste of money, right?
That's right, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, so don't give up on these things. Whatever has worked for you in the past, use it, and you may want to use more than one. We get the best success from using more than one marketing tool, but whatever has worked for you with that particular customer is most likely to work again.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Of course.
Cool. So last point is you want to automate or delegate the process as much as possible. And the reason is because you're busy running your business. And if it's the best of intentions, tend to fall off the top 10 list if it's not urgent. This is one of those Sector 2 activities if you're using the Franklin Covey time management system. And, we talked about last week, we made a joke about how we end up mentioning Franklin Covey every single episode. So there's our Covey reference. They talk about things that are urgent and important, urgent but not important, important but not urgent, and not urgent or important. So those are the 4 sectors, right? And this is one of those things that is important but not urgent. So you don't see that it needs to be done today, and so it doesn't get done unless it's automated or delegated or, in some way taken care of in a way that's not going to take your time. So how do you automate or delegate the process? The easiest way is with a CRM of some kind. And it doesn't really matter what you use as long as you use it. Right?
If you have it and don't use it, you are wasting money and losing customers.
I know. We got into a discussion with one of our customers talking about someone else who was spending thousands and thousands of dollars a month and still didn't know their numbers. They were spending thousands and thousands of dollars on a really popular marketing CRM, and they just weren't using it. They never really known what it was capable of. They just plugged it in and they were using it to send emails, but they weren't really using it to the fullest of its capability, and they would have been able to send emails using MailChimp. Just an insane waste of money. So if you have a CRM, make sure that you are using it to
the fullest extent of you can, because they all have different capabilities.
Yeah, you're spending money on this, for gosh sake. Use it, right? Okay, rant over. Okay, there are some things that a CRM will not do for you. Those include printing postcards,
mailing postcards,
sticking the labels on the postcards, sticking the stamps on the postcards, which actually does work better than metered. So, there are some manual tasks that need to be done in order to make this work in some cases. So postcards, sometimes you need to delegate that in order to get it done.
Right.
Direct mail, we do that for clients all the time. We have a set of Rubbermaid tubs with different clients' materials that we will drag out once a month and put together the list of folks that need something for a resale campaign and send it out. When it's coming up on time for that person to make another purchase, we send them a nice little package with CDs and notepads and pens and whatever else goes in that particular package to make sure that they are reminded, it's coming up on time to renew my insurance or whatever the situation is, so that they get that warm fuzzy feeling about their provider
or a phased inspection. Yeah, just a lot of things are on time.
Exactly. Or it's coming up on about statistical time to buy another airplane. So, some of our brokers do these kinds of things as well. So you don't have to do all this yourself. You can delegate it to other people. There are smart people in the industry who can help you. And if I might say that, people have different opinions. But, there are people who trust us for their marketing. And, we are able to do some of those manual tasks and also some of those outreach kind of tasks that require a human being to do. So you want to automate whatever you can, delegate whatever you can't automate, make sure it gets freaking done, right?
Or a phrase from a movie, she's a smart girl.
Thank you. You're very kind. All right. So once again, you want to talk about, what is your customer life cycle? You want to think about, is that every 6 months? Is that every month? Is that every 3 years? Whatever it is, you want to make sure that you're responding in an appropriate way. You're using your favorite marketing tools. In a lot of cases, you're going to want to use more than one.
Oh, yes.
It's a lot more effective that way, but you want to use what's worked with that particular customer set before. So you already have that data, you want to use it. And then the third thing is you want to automate or delegate the process, because I promise you it will not get done. It will fall off the list if you don't automate or delegate that as much as you possibly can.
Sound like experience talking.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Anything that is not urgent does have a tendency to fall off the list. So you have to create habits and systems and other kinds of things to make sure it gets done, right?
The system's the thing.
System is the thing, and the habit is the thing, and yeah, absolutely. Okay, so once again, this episode is brought to you by our Sales and Marketing Lab, which is where we develop really good marketing habits, and we learn to use these tools and better and delegate things and make partnerships and other kinds of things, economies of scale with other companies, so that this becomes affordable and realistic and all of those other wonderful things that marketing can be a challenge. So this helps us get that done, right?
It does indeed. It helps our client.
Absolutely, right. So if you would like to talk about your resale rhythm or your resale pattern, or how to get more out of it and how to make sure that you are making more and bigger sales to your current clients, we would love to talk to you about that. Just hit the button on our website that says contact us, pick a time that's convenient for you, and let's sit down and get to the bottom of it, right?
You bet.
Absolutely. So thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Have a great day.